Okay, I'm super excited to demo the xyz3d Blender plugin. For this video, we're going to go ahead and create this site down here, which has animations and is fully created inside of Blender with not very much code at all. As I hover over the enter text, animations are playing. There's a camera animation when you click, and there's point lights and things that are also imported from the GLTF model. Then we show a pop-up of some example HTML, all done in this code and this JSON file. Very small amounts of work indeed. So the Blender scene just has some cubes, and I'd say the only strange things in the scene right now are the two meshes that are being displayed as bounds inside of the Blender viewport, one over the enter text and one over the camera. So the one over the enter text, it's just a box being displayed as bounds, as I said, and it's being used as a raycast target, raycast target for the enter text, so that the raycasting doesn't go through the holes of the text. And the one over the camera is just being used as the camera anchor point, so that the framework knows where to put the camera when you start the scene. So I'm just going to jump into the scripting tag and remove all of the custom properties on all the objects with this little handy script. What the plugin is actually doing is just adding custom properties to all of your meshes. The general workflow is to select your mesh, like here I'm selecting the enter text, and assign it to a zone, which is analogous to a website's page, like a home page or a about page. Essentially what this does is group your meshes together to create a convenient way to move the camera from one group to the other and to compartmentalize your interactive and visual components. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm typing in demo, or I typed in demo as the scene zone, and now I'm going to select all of the meshes and apply that scene zone to all of these meshes. Now at the bottom you can see there's an edit property submenu, and this is a helper, so you can remove or verify you've added the right custom properties to the selected object. And here you can see it says zone is demo, which is exactly what we want. Now we're going to move on to the camera anchor point, and that's what this mesh is that I just selected. I'm going to set it as a camera anchor, and then I'm going to go ahead and set the anchor order to 0, which is useful if you have multiple camera anchors in your scene so that you can move from the first to the next and so on. All right, then I'm going to set the purple cube under the enter text as a background mesh, and what that is doing is telling the framework to keep this in the shot when in this scene zone. Okay, then we're going to click on the enter text and apply the interactable tag. What that's going to do is tell the framework that this item is clickable and that hover animations will trigger on it. Also, it's important to note that every interactable needs a raycast mesh, and only click and camera animations are triggered on interactables. So here we're going to go ahead and create that raycast mesh tag. One tip is to add a mesh on your interactable item and then parent it to the interactable item and scale it accordingly. Unfortunately, the video is not great, but essentially you select the bounds first, and then you select the interactable mesh, and you hit apply set raycast mesh. That will add the proper references to the mesh name under the interactable component. I'm going to go ahead and select all the meshes now and hit the export button via the plugin and overwrite the basic examples scene GLB file. Now we can see that there's a functioning site with bloom, post effects, and the pop-up is working properly, but there's no animations as we haven't added them yet. Okay, now for the final part, let's add the animations. So they're already stacked on this enter object, so I'm just going to go to the dope sheet action editor, copy the name of the animation and paste it into the animation tab, and then just hit apply. And that method actually works the same for all the animation types. It's just a matter of copying the action name into that box and hitting apply. Now I've gone ahead and added all of the animations that we had on all the objects. There's only a few, but one on the light, one on this scaling cube here, and on the enter text and the camera animation. So to show off how to add multiple animations to one of these fields, I've gone and added a pulsating cube in front of the inner purple block. And to add it through the plugin, you just add a comma between the action names. So I've done that here. That's it. As you can see, we have a functioning website. Now we click on the enter text and it plays the animation and opens up our HTML. This will all be available to download in the xyz3d examples GitHub page along with the Blender file and code, so you can go ahead and test it out yourself. All right, opening up the code here for the project, you can see it's very simple in terms of project structure. It's just a static HTML page and default files needed for that. In this file, we have at the bottom a script tag which runs the xz, creates an xz instance or xyz3d instance, and that instance is pointing towards a JSON file, and that JSON file has our model data in it. It's important to note that the way the framework knows what to do with the meshes that are marked interactable is located inside of that JSON file also. And here we have our enter homepage button set as a pop-up with an HTML value as the content. We can change that to be a link to open in a new window, or to be just an animation type, which just will trigger animations and do nothing else. Then also, as a convenience, at the very bottom we have a lights array which allows you to add dynamic 3JS lights and HDRs and EXRs, directional lights, point lights, etc., without having to code anything, and also set their position if they have such a variable. All right, so that wraps up this video. I hope the tool is useful to you, and if you have any feature requests for the tool or new videos, please let me know.